With unwavering confidence, alien warriors brought their cutting-edge technology to Earth, surpassing human capabilities, gave them a feeling of superiority, considering Earth to be a backward primitive creatures who lived on the planet and used antiquated tools to interact with the aliens. Even if contemporary weaponry like tanks and missiles presented certain difficulties, they were by no means a serious threat to Earth's bows and arrows, and other archaic weaponry were ridiculous, and their mindset was stemming from arrogance and the conviction that such antiquated techniques could not breach their defenses. The aliens, their defense shields could stop missiles before they even reached the target, demonstrating how amazing technology was. Target, their weapons were superior to those humans could use, and their armor was almost immune to modern explosives. Understand that this superiority nourished their speed, strength, and superior equipment. In their conceit, they dismissed Earth's efforts to fight back as insignificant and treated human tactics as such. Annoyance in their perspective. Humanity's greatest endeavors were merely futile resistance. From the beginning, it was clear that they underestimated Earth's potential. The first confrontations demonstrated how advanced tactical tanks were rendered immobile by energy pulses and planes, leaving humanity ill-prepared to confront with the aliens, were destroyed with remarkable accuracy, leaving entire armies defenseless. Because they were so sure of their superiority, the aliens started concentrating only on destroying modern military technologies that failed to recognize alternative forms of resistance. With that, lessons about human ingenuity and resilience may be learned from Earth's history. Overcome overwhelming obstacles by using their imagination and adjusting to the hardships the aliens face for all their inventions. The lack of adaptability in technical breakthroughs stems from their dependence on predictable techniques, and their confidence made them vulnerable in unexpected ways. One of the most obvious, the way they responded to archery, believing that bows and arrows represented the pinnacle of primitive warfare. They were unable to understand how such weapons could possibly threaten their advanced systems. Their arrogance caused them to fire whole squads of fighters who used conventional weapons, the alien. These fighters were openly ridiculed by warriors who saw them as remnants of a bygone period. Seeing no need to squander energy, they even let certain conflicts to continue without using all of their might. Resources on what they viewed as insignificant opposition. This derision went beyond the aliens' propaganda on the battlefield, demonstrated the ineffectiveness of humanity's conventional weapons. Displaying pictures of archers who have been vanquished by their superior army were intended to discourage humanity by making it abundantly evident that resistance was pointless. Particularly in light of such antiquated tools, but instead of shattering the spirit of Earth, their conceit sparked about the aliens' greatest blind spot was their incapacity to comprehend the intensity of their will to disprove them. They merely observed the surface of strategy and talent, such as the simplicity of a bow and arrow, without understanding the intricate strategy and expertise required to employ it. Throughout human history, archery has involved more than just shooting arrows. It also involved precise timing and comprehension of the context. It was a skill that had been honed over centuries, using methods intended to take advantage of flaws in an opponent's gear or arrangement. But the extraterrestrials disregarded this as unimportant, since they thought their advanced fortifications were unbreakable, and their rejection of conventional techniques also demonstrated their misperception of Earth's variety. Various societies have evolved distinctive strategies to combat numerous things, at once confronted with difficulty, including the human animals, which at a time when contemporary armies were having difficulty using brute force, instead relied on tactics adjust to the aliens' technology. These conventional methods offered viable answers that weren't readily available. Evidently, the aliens' conceit prevented them from seeing that Earth's power might be found in. As the fights went on, the aliens started to take notice of its diversity in history, tiny flaws in their presumptions. Yet their armor and shields were almost impregnable against the materials utilized in current bullets were not created with low-tech threats in mind. Due to their strong impact resistance, the technology was surprisingly susceptible to slower bullets. For a long time, this vulnerability was overlooked due to smaller and more accurate blows. Since the aliens didn't consider testing for it, so why would they do it to them? Traditional weapons were useless, and this mistake ultimately turned into a major vulnerability for the aliens. NASA had based their plans on the notion that the only threat worth taking into account was modern technology. Their forces were positioned to counter missiles, tanks, and airplanes first, leaving other areas with little attention. Definited this, leaving gaps that may be taken advantage of through non-traditional means. But the aliens' conceit kept them from fixing these weaknesses until it was too late, which is another factor that contributed to the aliens' inflexible thinking and organized system, which inhibited innovation, were their doom. Their tactics, which were based on formulas and patterns that had proven effective in earlier conquests, were successful against societies that just used contemporary technology, but it was unsuccessful against adversaries that were able to think unconventional. There are numerous instances of asymmetric warfare throughout Earth's history where smaller, less equipped, through ingenuity and flexibility, armies had vanquished more formidable adversaries, something the aliens were unable to acknowledge. That this facet of human nature proved to be their downfall even as the tide started to turn. The aliens found it difficult to adjust, and their derision of Earth's conventional practices changed to annoyance when they came across. Expecting opposition, but they persisted in believing in technology. Dominance rather of reconsidering their tactics, they strengthened their current approaches by dependence on technology instead of addressing their strategic shortcomings. Their vulnerabilities were exacerbated by their stubbornness, and the turning point was when the aliens ultimately went forth against Earth's historical specialist squads of fighters who had perfected the ancient fight, but they brought with them a profound knowledge of how to take advantage of the gaps in the aliens' defenses, and their strategies, while appearing simple, were quite successful. They applied their understanding of the time of the terrain and accuracy to maneuver the aliens in ways that contemporary armies were unable to. In the end, the aliens' overconfidence, which included making fun of Earth's materials by using conventional techniques and undervaluing the effectiveness of strategy, they exposed themselves to a type of opposition they weren't ready to face. Their inability to adjust, and their conceit that even the most cutting-edge technology cannot compete with willpower and creativity. This lesson was also learned. The aliens' late arrival was a potent reminder of the resilience of humankind and history. Resilience and archery proficiency were key factors in the Mongols' surprising comeback to prominence in this war. They became one of the most powerful military forces in history after years of refinement, and they saw the bow not as a basic weapon, but unlike the sophisticated ones, it is an instrument of accuracy, speed, and flexibility. The alien invaders' weaponry included Mongol bows, which were made with a complex power balance, and because of its portability, they were able to shoot arrows with amazing accuracy, even when mounted on a charging horse, which made them extremely adaptable for both attack and defense. The Mongol bow was made from Holland marble, and despite this, the wood horn and sinew layers were a technical marvel of their time. Despite its diminutive size, it had tremendous power that could penetrate armor and hit targets at a significant distance. Due to their special design, the Mongols were able to effectively fight their adversaries at long range without sacrificing their mobility. The talent behind the weapon, not just the weapon themselves, was what made it so destructive. Mongol warriors received training from at an early age, learning how to quickly fire long-range shots, and their ability to precisely aim this discipline made them a force that could adjust to what distinguished the Mongols in any battlefield situation. Was their belief in They viewed warfare as a dynamic issue that needed ongoing assessment and modification. Methods were based on adaptability and effectiveness, in contrast to many armies that the Mongols stressed speed, timing, and deceit while relying on raw force. They were adept at ambush tactics, outmaneuvering opponents by leveraging their understanding of the terrain and weather. Regardless of how strong their opponents seemed, this mentality enabled them to take advantage of their vulnerabilities. These values, developed over many centuries of conquest, were essential in tackling the particular difficulties presented. The Mongols' profound knowledge of archery was expanded by the alien invaders beyond matched. They understood the psychological effects of their tactics on the battlefield. Their capacity to strike precisely and vanish before reprisal engendered a climate of dread, and the alien forces were used to ambiguity. And this psychological edge was frequently just as significant as their physical triumphs. Humans who used predictable tactics encountered an adversary who didn't fit their assumptions. When the Mongols encountered the aliens' technology, their flexibility and unpredictable nature proved crucial. The Mongols' collective discipline, of which each warrior was a member, was another crucial element of their resurgence, the greater system that prioritized cooperation and support between themselves. And this unity enabled them to function as a unified force that can precisely execute intricate maneuvers. Decisions were made swiftly and efficiently because to the hierarchical framework, which also reduced confusion and pacification, this organizational strength was crucial in helping them maximize their influence in combat. In modifying their antiquated techniques to face a sophisticated foe, the Mongols also had an unparalleled capacity to incorporate information from various cultures. Over time, they have taken in technology, tactics, and strategies from the societies they came across. Their willingness to learn enabled them to improve their approaches. The Mongols consistently displayed this similar trait when confronted with the difficulty of alien technology. Flexibility, they swiftly recognized the gaps in the aliens' defenses and modified their strategy. Consequently, their readiness to adapt made sure that their antiquated methods continued to be useful, despite their efficiency was further increased by their comprehension of seemingly insurmountable difficulties. The Mongols were adept at supply chain management and could endure protracted battles in hostility settings. They made use of their mobility to sustain their forces and secure resources, making sure that their soldiers were constantly prepared for combat. This logistical know-how was essential to keeping the momentum going. Required to stave off the alien invasion while contemporary forces battled the Mongols' resource shortages, showed how effective resource allocation and planning could get over these obstacles, and the Mongols' success also depended on their capacity to bring disparate factions together around a shared goal. Their history was replete with instances of connections made with erstwhile adversaries, giving their ranks a feeling of a common destiny in this war, used the same ideas while collaborating with other human forces to create a cohesive strategy. They developed a hybrid by utilizing their knowledge of archery and fusing it with contemporary intelligence, strategy that addressed their partners' shortcomings while maximizing their own strengths. This cooperation was crucial. One of the Mongols' most important contributions to reversing the tide against the aliens was their concentrate on accuracy rather than firepower alone, since they realized that fighting the aliens needed more than sheer force, which required focused activities that took advantage of particular weaknesses. Their strategy was systematically putting quality above quantity, while attacking this attention to expertise achieved in the detail enabled them to accomplish outcomes that contemporary armies could not match. Their capacity to recognize and, taking advantage of gaps in the aliens' defenses became a key component of their approach, and the Mongols left behind the way the relentless warriors approached resistance was clear. They saw failures not as setbacks, but as chances to grow and learn. This fortitude was essential to preserving momentum and spirits. Throughout the battle, the Mongols stayed unwavering, while others gave way before overwhelming odds. use every interaction to improve their strategies even further. Their perseverance motivated people around them. They had a cascading impact that fortified humanity's determination, but their resurgence was not without their difficulties. The Mongols encountered doubt from contemporary military commanders who first disregarded their techniques as antiquated. To dispel these reservations, it was necessary to prove their efficacy. Of their strategy through observable outcomes, each victory reaffirmed their applicability over time, progressively changing opinions. While winning more support, this procedure demonstrated how crucial it is to close the gap between conventional consideration and contemporary viewpoints, demonstrating that innovation frequently entails ultimately recognizing the importance of prior knowledge. The Mongols' contribution demonstrated the enduring strength of skill and adaptation, as well as their capacity to combine. Combining traditional methods with contemporary approaches offered a roadmap for conquering seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Their comeback was about more than just defeating an adversary. It was about demonstrating that history holds important lessons for today in a technologically evolved world. The Mongols served as a reminder to humanity of the value of innovation, discipline, and the resilience of the human spirit. The Mongols' strategy for fighting was based on careful preparation and strategic vision, which made them extremely efficient at handling unusual difficulties. Their strategies focused on minimizing their own vulnerabilities while taking advantage of their adversaries' shortcomings. When confronted with the technologically advanced alien invaders, they used their in-depth knowledge of combat to create plans that focused on the characteristics of aliens. The Mongols' success was largely due to their concentration on mobility. Masters of quick movement who outmaneuvered opponents and used their agility to strike with precision, setting ambushes, launching surprise attacks, and retreating before the adversary could react thanks to their in-depth knowledge of the terrain. This hit-and-run strategy worked well and provided a significant edge over the aliens with inflexible systems that were less able to adjust to unexpected, unforeseen conflicts. The Mongols also gave espionage and reconnaissance top priority, since they think that prior to fighting, they gathered information about the enemy's advantages and disadvantages because it was crucial to victory. As much data as they can regarding the posture and skills of their opponent and flaws, which enabled them to come up with strategies that rendered the aliens' technological dominance. Even highly developed extraterrestrial computers couldn't match their ability to assess and forecast adversary behavior, not undermine the Mongols' emphasis on precision, which was another crucial component of their strategy. Instead of squandering funds on pointless attacks, they focused their energies on high-value targets. Using this focused strategy, they were able to deal the most damage possible, with requiring them to redirect forces to defend key areas, while causing minimal disruption to the alien activities. The Mongols' skill at setting priorities made sure that each action had a slow, significant impact. Reducing the aliens' control over important regions, adaptability was another essential component of the Mongols. The Mongols were not constrained by strict ideas or preset plans. Instead, they modified their strategies according to the changing conditions of every conflict. This adaptability enabled them to investigate turning the aliens' own arrogance against them as opportunities presented themselves. In contrast to their technologically sophisticated opponents, who depended on preset reactions and predictable tactics, the improvisation and creativity were key components of the Mongols' way of life. The Mongols knew that demoralizing the adversary was the key to their success. Therefore, they employed psychological warfare. They were perfect to be successful as beating them in battle. They used strategies meant to perplex and frighten the aliens. By striking suddenly and withdrawing, they created an air of uncertainty that weakened their confidence. The aliens were kept in a state of uncertainty that hindered their capacity to mount a counterattack. In order to implement well-thought-out plans, the Mongols Knowledge and logistics significantly enhanced their location. They kept effective supply lines that guaranteed their soldiers were always properly outfitted. And because they were ready for extended campaigns, their logistical effectiveness allowed them to continue operating, even in harsh settings, providing humans with the stamina required to confront the superior aliens. The Mongols showed the value of planning as modern forces battled with resource limitations. Its flexibility in resolving logistical issues with their command hierarchy contributed significantly to the success of their tactics. The Mongols used a clear line of command that facilitated quick coordination and decision-making, and leaders at all levels were instructed to think by themselves and adapt to changing circumstances so that the force as a whole can act in unison. Due to their decentralized strategy, they were able to carry out intricate measures that no other system was supposed to be able to. And one of them was a technique called combat intelligences. They had a major edge over the more tightly structured aliens thanks to their precise maneuvers. Forces' cooperation with contemporary human troops increased their efficacy even further, and the Mongols were quick to incorporate new information and technologies into their plans while incorporating insights and conventional techniques. Supplied by current military professionals, this combination of traditional and contemporary methods produced a hybrid approach that made use of both worlds' advantages, and by collaborating closely with other human powers, the Mongols were able to optimize their influence and synchronize their endeavors on a worldwide level. The Mongols, by placing a strong focus on discipline and training, they made sure that their fighters were highly competent and ready for any situation, able to perform intricate maneuvers with precision using their weapons and strategies. This degree of ability based on combat expertise and the ability to integrate all domains of strategy into the resulting final ultimate outcome, they were able to remain productive even under the most trying circumstances. Being committed to continual improvement meant that they were constantly improving their techniques and staying ahead of their enemies. The Mongols understood that their ability to predict and be patient with their enemies was another essential component of their success. They meticulously select their battles to increase their chances of winning, knowing when to attack and when to back off. Stayed away from direct conflicts with the aliens' most powerful forces, instead focusing on their vulnerabilities and imposing them into disadvantageous situations. Yet this strategic strategy enabled them to accomplish notable victories and given them opportunities to pursue notable imperial goals. The Mongols' successes, without needless losses, steadily shifted the balance of power in their favor, used their understanding of human history and combat to outsmart their adversaries. They drew on centuries of experience, using knowledge from previous battles to inform their tactics against the aliens from a historical standpoint, offered them a distinct edge that enabled them to predict the alien strategies in ways that contemporary armies could not. Their capacity to draw lessons from the past and apply them to the present, which demonstrated their inventiveness and ingenuity. The fusion of contemporary technology and intelligence with conventional Mongol tactics developed a synergy that increased their efficacy by fusing their mobility and archery expertise with the use of contemporary communication and surveillance technologies. The Mongols were able to conduct their operations with hitherto unheard of efficiency. This fusion of the ancient and the new showed how creativity and teamwork can overcome seemingly impossible obstacles. The Mongols' victory in combat was ultimately due to their taking a comprehensive approach to combat. They recognized that winning needed more than just superior equipment or strategies, required self-repetition, flexibility, and a thorough comprehension of the enemy's capacity. Their capacity to integrate these components into a coherent plan enabled them to defeat the alien invaders, demonstrating that even the most sophisticated technology might be defeated by ingenuity and willpower. The conflict between a clear clash of ideologies and technological prowess between the Mongols and the alien invaders was brought to light. They rely mostly on their sophisticated technology and methodical strategy to fight, believing that their superior instruments and techniques would make any descent futile, in contrast to the centuries-long influence of the Mongols, of adaptability and strategic evolution depending on skill, discipline, and a relentless determination to take advantage of every weakness in their adversaries' systems. A strict hierarchy governed how aliens behaved, with choices and actions determined by their precise and methodical techniques and centralized command systems. But, in some context writings, their rigidity and lack of flexibility rendered them predictable, vulnerability that the Mongols quickly took advantage of, as opposed to valued. Despite having a solid chain of command and decentralized decision-making, their leaders at all levels were enabled to modify tactics in response to current conditions. This disparity produced a substantial disparity in the ways that each side tackled the difficulties of combat. Psychological dynamics played a primary role. The aliens' essential part in the battle was to underestimate the tenacity and resourcefulness of their adversaries in treating. They were deluded by the conceit that Earth's historical practices were irrelevant and inferior. Given how well the Mongols' unusual strategies worked, the Mongols, however, they were aware of the effectiveness of psychological warfare, and their unpredictable nature caused confusion, and the aliens' hesitancy undermined their confidence, which had been their greatest asset. They made fun of conventional approaches were frustrating, as the Mongols consistently disregarded their expectations, and cultural distinctions between the two parties also affected the results. Their interactions with the aliens were the result of a culture that heavily relied on technology, supposing it to be the best remedy for any issue arising from their excessive reliance on automation and preset reactions. In their capacity to adjust to new circumstances, the Mongols were molded by a culture that prioritized survival and resourcefulness, flourished in an uncertain environment. They saw obstacles as chances to develop a new way of thinking that was crucial in fending off the aliens. The Mongols' strict tactics were a crucial component of this cultural clash. Their mastery of archery was not only a talent but a profoundly ingrained bond with their weapons and surroundings. A fundamental aspect of who they were aware of the subtleties of their equipment, from the physics of their bowstrings to the paths of their arrows. This level of expertise enabled them to employ their weapons with unmatched. In contrast, the aliens relied on automated systems that needed to be precise. Little knowledge or communication, this dependence left a hole in their capacity to adjust when the Mongols' capacity to innovate under duress was another factor that was disrupted or outmaneuvered by technology. Important element in their success, yet the aliens' attempts to modify their strategy were sluggish and frequently ineffectual. Their dependence on established procedures made it challenging for them to react to the Mongols' flexible and adaptable tactics. The Mongols, on the other hand, flourished in circumstances requiring innovative problem-solving. They continuously improved their methods, learning from effortless anything they touched. An other distinguishing feature of each encounter was the aliens, and applying those lessons to future conflicts. Emphasis on overwhelming force, in contrast to the Mongols' emphasis on accuracy and effectiveness. The aliens used enormous resources to outmaneuver their rivals, frequently attaining early success via overwhelming force. But this strategy was unworkable when the Mongols launched targeted attacks. Recognize the value of preserving resources and only striking when the circumstances were ideal. While the aliens found it difficult to adjust, their tactics allowed them to keep up their momentum across protracted conflicts. Throughout the protracted struggle, the two sides' leadership roles also varied greatly. Although the alien centralized command systems were successful in preserving coordination and order, they were exposed to aversion and cordial turn. On the other hand, the Mongols' decentralized leadership system permitted more flexibility and resilience. Its commanders were trained warriors as well as thinkers, setting an example that motivated their drives one to endure despite overwhelming difficulties. This disparity in leadership philosophies helped the Mongols adjust and ultimately innovate. The disparity between the two forces the aliens relied on was further emphasized via communication tactics, complex but inflexible systems that could be interfered with by deliberate attacks. In contrast, the Mongols combined decentralized communication with conventional signaling techniques. To keep things coordinated, their capacity to communicate directives efficiently and promptly, even in a mass crisis situation, is something not obvious to many normals when navigating crises to one's own tone. They have a major edge while performing intricate movements in chaotic settings. The Mongols' comprehension of war's psychological effects went beyond their immediate interactions. They understood the significance of perception and used their strategies to affect the aliens' perceptions. The battle, by consistently surprising and outwitting their opponents with superior technology, they established an image of psychological edge, paired with the idea of invincibility, which further discouraged the alien troops. The effect of their wins was enhanced by their tactical brilliance, which the aliens were unable to completely understand. One significant shortcoming was the significance of cultural context-specific flexibility. They failed to recognize the clash because they were too focused on their own technological superiority. The Mongols, on the other hand, valued human ingenuity and resilience, treated the dispute with humility, and an eagerness to understand. Their receptiveness to incorporating new concepts and even techniques from other human cultures enabled them to continuously improve their tactics. The most important takeaway from this clash of cultures was the value of flexibility and the drawbacks of excessive dependence on technology. The aliens' naive faith in their system's invincibility prevented them from seeing the possibilities of less. Traditional techniques, the Mongols used their discipline, inventiveness, and knowledge of environmental and human dynamics showed that even the most sophisticated technology might be defeated. Their triumph was not only a feat of skill, but also evidence of their ability to plan strategically and adapt. The eternal power of human ingenuity and fortitude, the last stage of the conflict, was the result of the Mongols' relentless strategy, adaptation, and resilience, which they had developed throughout time. Their strategies of constant learning allowed them to confront the alien invaders with unparalleled accuracy, and their journey from underappreciated warriors to crucial Earth defenders demonstrates the enduring promise. The IVE moments were propelled by the strategic foresight and human ingenuity. The Mongols' unwavering concentration on taking advantage of weaknesses throughout time and their repeated interactions with the alien forces had exposed significant flaws in the aliens. The impact of unconventional techniques that they relied too much on had not been anticipated by technologically advanced. They were vulnerable to targeted attacks due to predictable tactics, and the capacity of Mongol to take advantage of these weaknesses was crucial. In reversing the conflict's trajectory by focusing their efforts on sabotaging key systems and neutralizing enemy defenses, in the last battles, they methodically destroyed the alien strategic advantage, represented the Mongols' dedication to accuracy and effectiveness, since every move was planned to optimum effect, making sure that each blow advanced the main objective. This methodical technique stood in sharp contrast to the aliens' oppressive reliance on the Mongols' brute force. Realize that achieving victory necessitated more than simply destroying the enemy's armies. It required the depletion of their ability to continue the battle. This knowledge directed their strategies, enabling them to inflict substantial harm while protecting their own resources and working with other people. In these last phases, armies were vital to the Mongols' willingness to incorporating intelligence and contemporary technologies into their plans, produced a potent synergy. By combining ancient knowledge with modern skills, they were more effective, allowing advanced technologies with creative ideas and the capacity to integrate various strategies in order to combat the aliens. And viewpoints was a distinguishing quality, emphasizing the value of solidarity, collaboration, and conquering common enemies. Nevertheless, logistical excellence continued to be a key component of the Mongols' success, and their capacity to maintain long-term operations, especially in difficult conditions, made sure they kept up their pace when it was complicated with the labor scarce, resulting in a large population that was given top priority. This logistical mastery not only helped their armies stay prepared and well-equipped, but it also increased Mongolian forces, so they were far more prepared and tactical than their predecessors. Eventually, tactical initiatives, but also illustrated how important strategic planning is to attaining long-term. The conflict's conclusion was also largely determined by the intentions of the Mongol commanders. Highly qualified and experienced individuals encouraged self-assurance and self-retrieval in their troops, as well as their capacity to adjust to detailed oversight. Adapting to changing conditions and making quick decisions in the face of ambiguity were crucial for preserving unity and helping producers advance further. But putting aside the strategy to effect seems almost impossible today, providing them with a crucial advantage in intricate and quickly evolving circumstances. It is impossible to overestimate the psychological impact of the Mongol tactics' constant capacity to outmaneuvering and outthinking their opponents made them seem inevitable, which discouraged the extraterrestrial troops. They were used to using superior technology to overpower their opponents, but they were unprepared for the tenacity and success. The psychological advantage of their human opponents' inventiveness further reduced the aliens' fighting ability. Efficiently, as uncertainty and annoyance started to weaken their unity. As the war dragged on, the Mongols showed how important flexibility and constant improvement were, viewed every interaction as a chance to grow and improve their strategies, keeping them ahead of the game. Their rivals' dedication to innovation stood in sharp contrast to the foreign static strategy, which depended on the Mongols' capacity to adapt in real time to pre-existing systems and protocols, was a distinguishing characteristic of their accomplishments, which highlight the value of agility and conquering difficult obstacles, are the result of this was a planned sequence of actions intended to destroy the surviving aliens. These tactics, which combined accurate targeting with strongholds, demonstrated the full extent of the Mongol strategic capabilities. Concentrating on command centers and vital infrastructure through extensive cooperation, they interfered with the aliens' capacity to organize their forces, opening the door for clear-cut wins the experts. The success of these activities demonstrated how crucial strategic planning and execution are to reaching long-term success. The conflict's aftermath highlighted the importance of the experts. The Mongols' contributions not only ensured victory, but also showed the continued value of historical understanding and conventional practices. The combination of traditional and contemporary roadmap for tackling upcoming issues was developed by innovations, highlighting the importance of maintaining and adapting. According to conventional thought, the Mongols' achievement served as a reminder that technological superiority is insufficient on its own. Strength is found in the Mongols' tradition of being able to think creatively and adjust to changing conditions. Victory was not limited to the battlefield. Their example sparked a renewed understanding of the significance of cooperation, flexibility, and resilience. The lessons discovered from their tactics influenced the creation of fresh methods for resolving issues, creating an environment of creativity and receptiveness by showcasing the strength of solidarity and common goal. They had a profound effect on the world community, highlighting the value of cooperation in overcoming hardship. The triumph also highlighted the alliance's technological limitations and the aliens' inability to adjust, and their rejection of conventional approaches demonstrated the perils of the Mongols' complacency and haughtiness. Their disciplined inventiveness and strategic vision offered a potent counterpoint to this way of thinking, demonstrating that a combination of skill, intelligence, and flexibility is necessary for success. Their triumph was evidence of the human spirit's unwavering resilience and the ability of innovative thought to overcome even the most difficult obstacles. The conflict ultimately involved more than just a confrontation between two troops, but also the Mongols' capacity to outthink and outlast their opponents is an example of the more general concepts of strategy and inventiveness. With tenacity, their triumph served as a reminder that despite insurmountable obstacles, with the correct education, skills, and perseverance, they can accomplish the seemingly impossible and leave a lasting legacy of achievement. Keeps inspiring, educating, and imparting important knowledge to future generations.